climbing this tree to get a little nut, which was ground up and made into a paint, which was put on our faces. They painted our faces because it's a traditional style of face paint, and they wanted to share that art with us, and so they painted our faces. And after a few days in Chimacocha, we paddled out. We all piled onto the cataract, which was a lot of people on this one cataract. But it was really fun because it was flat water, so there weren't a lot of rapids. Before there were some class 3 and 4 rapids, which were huge waves, so we had to be pretty careful, and it was really fun. But here it was flat water, so we could just jump off and swim all the time, which was really fun. And then we went back to Colugo, and we spent a few weeks there working on construction projects, and I made that leather backpack, and we helped one of our teachers build his house, and we built a composting toilet on the farm. And then we headed out on our second expedition, which this is a picture of. And on this expedition, we walked from the farm that we were staying on, Colugo. Do you remember the first picture where you can see the mountain way off from distance? We walked from where that picture is taken to the mountain. So it's over 200 kilometers, and it took us about 2 weeks to walk, but we also had glacier school during that, so it wasn't really, it was probably 10 days or something of walking to get there. And this is really the terrain that we were in. We were really high up in the mountains. There's really very few people. We saw maybe one person who wasn't, one person the whole time. One cowboy on his horse. And there's actually lots of cows up there, which is really interesting. They raise cows for bullfighting up in these highlands, but they don't have fences or anything. They just kind of run around. And I guess they're brought in at some point during the year for fighting. But we got to see lots of cows. And we really just walked way up in this beautiful place for a long time. And it's really pretty easy to navigate here because you can see everything, and we were using topographical maps so that you can see the height of the mountains and stuff where we were, and so you can see it pretty clearly because there's no trees. And along the way, while we were on this expedition, we happened to find some bugs which we ate. This picture is taken from, it was on the second day of our expedition, and we got into our campsite and set up camp and set up our tents and everything, and people were starting to make dinner, and everyone was starting to settle down and go into their tents to hang out for the evening. And then our two instructors, Roberto and Tupac, who are from Ecuador, they started jumping up and screaming at us, and they're like, "Guys, get the bugs, right now, get the bugs, we have to get the bugs." And there's this big, I don't know, they're probably about this big, and they have a really loud buzzing sound, and so I don't really know why all of a sudden our camp was just swarmed with these bugs. But we all started running after them and catching them, and it was just really a hilarious sight because it was really foggy, and so everything looked kind of strange, and so everyone was just running around the highlands grabbing these bugs. And we didn't really know what they were for at first, but it became clear later on that they were for dinner. So we cooked them up and ate them, and we had them with pasta. They were fine. I don't know. They weren't my favorite thing ever, but they were okay. And I think bugs are definitely something we should eat more of in this country. And on this expedition, we also found Maddie. He was this dog. We were just at Muerte Pungo, there's this big lake, and we were staying there. And one night we were eating dinner, and this little dog comes under our tarp with us, and some people fed him, so he kept following us. And he followed us actually all the way to Cotopaxi, which was quite a bit further. And this dog actually also climbed Cotopaxi. This dog summited Cotopaxi. It climbed up to 19,200 meters, which is pretty amazing. He climbed all the way up the glacier. And he was a pretty good dog. we didn't all love him that much, but Julia really loved him. She even let him sleep with her, which was crazy, because he was kind of a disgusting dog, but he was cold, and she liked him, so. And then we walked to Antisana, which is another big volcano in Ecuador, and this one's actually dormant. It's a really old one, and it actually used to be a lot bigger, and it had a huge eruption and kind of got blown apart, but it's still a pretty tall volcano now. And we did glacier school here, so we learned how to use our crampons and our ice pick and just like get a hang for mountaineering. And then we also did a summit attempt while we were here, so we woke up at like 10 o'clock at night and started walking, and we got to the glacier about 2 in the morning and walked up the glacier for 4 hours. So it was in the middle of the night, it's really dark, it's really quiet, all you can hear is the crunch of your crampons on the snow and the people in front of you, and it's really steep, so you have to go in zigzags, and you're also tied into a rope team, so if one person falls, then the other people can do a self-arrest, which is just where you take your ice pick and jam it into this glacier, and then not everyone falls down, or nobody falls down, because you catch the people that fall. And you just walk and walk and walk for hours, and you have to go really slowly because you're at high altitude, so you can't really breathe that well. I mean, I don't know, there's not that much oxygen in the air because we're really high up, so the air pressure is really low. And so you just walk and walk and walk, and it's actually a really beautiful, peaceful kind of place because, I mean, it can be also really painful and awful. Like on Cotopaxi, I got altitude sickness, so I just felt like nauseous and had a horrible headache the whole time, and I couldn't go the whole way. But on Antisana, I didn't, and it's a really unique place to be on the glacier because it's very quiet and contemplated and peaceful. But we didn't summit Antisana. We got to 5,500 meters, and there was a big crevasse that we couldn't cross because we didn't have the equipment, and we didn't do any vertical ice climbing, and none of us really knew how to, so we couldn't really go across the crevasse, and so we had to turn around, and we went back. And then we walked to Cotopaxi from Antisana. This picture is taken from Antisana, and that's Cotopaxi, the big volcano over there, and that was actually active still. And we walked all the way to there from this picture, and we walked also around the volcano because we didn't climb that side, the side that you can see from this picture. And it was a pretty long hike, but we did a lot of that portion was actually group solos again, so we were not with our teachers, and we were by ourselves and had to do all the navigation and decide when we were going to get up in the morning and what we were going to eat and everything else, which was actually really awesome. It was, for my group at least, it was just a lot more relaxed. When we didn't have the teachers, like, everything worked out fine, but we didn't have to, like, stress out about anything. So we had a great time. And on the other side of Cotopaxi is the Carasur, which is a refuge. And actually one of the students who was on the semester lived in Ecuador, and his father ran the refuge. And so we got to stay at the refuge, which was really nice, and like take hot showers and eat some really good food and rest before we climbed Cotopaxi. And as I said before, I wasn't able to summit because I got altitude sickness, but some people in my group did. And this is a photo taken from the top, and they're just way at the top of the world at over 19,000 meters, which is really high. I'm not very good at giving examples of what that can be to you, because yeah, yeah, it's really high, and you're way above the clouds, and it's pretty amazing. And I was told that it was money is kind of a daunting task, I think, and as young people, we tend to think that money is sort of like beyond our control, but it's really not, and it's possible to fundraise. I was actually able to raise more than I needed for the semester, so with the money that I raised extra, I am giving away books. I bought a bunch of books that my friend Hyla, who also fundraised for the semester, she wrote this book about fundraising for teens, and it's really helpful. And I used it a lot for the semester. It really helped me with fundraising, and so I want to pass on that gift to people. And so I have a place on my blog, which is right here, that you can request to get a book. And if you have a project or a program or anything that you really want to do and you don't have the money for, I'd love to help you with it. And if you need like help with mentoring or whatever you need, help writing a fundraising letter or something, I would love to help you. It's really an honor to be able to pass on this gift, and I'm just really excited that I can, and I hope I can inspire a lot more people to keep following their dreams. There's a few students from Richford Middle School where I did a presentation, and they're going to do a summer camp this summer through Croca actually, and they asked me for help with fundraising, and I sent them a book, and we're going to work together with creating a fundraising letter and stuff, and it's just really exciting. So I hope that if any of you have something that you'd like to do, you feel free to contact me, and I'd love to help you. And also, I'm not just hanging around the spring either. I'm going to bike across the country. I decided to do that partly just, I love biking, and because I also applied to a lot of colleges that are really far apart, and I wanted to visit them, and I didn't want to burn a lot of fossil fuels and spend a lot of money on that, so I'm going to bike. And I'm just really excited that I'm going to be biking from February 19th until graduation. And it's going to be an adventure. So it's really different from the semester because I'm by myself, so I like make all the decisions and get to meet a lot of people. I also won't be like with the community of the semester. So it'll be really interesting to see what it's like on the opposite end of the spectrum for traveling, you know, where it's like very not, the semester is very organized and very like an experience in itself that's already like created by a program, and this bike trip is like completely not, and I'm just making it up, so it'll be really cool to see, get to have both ends of the experience. So, thanks for coming to watch this presentation.